As discussed the last time on this series, Brock Lesnar's first year and a half in WWE was mixed, to say the very best. In terms of pure in-ring quality, it could be deemed a success. His matches with John Cena and CM Punk are, in my view, modern-day classics. But WWE, as it is wont to do, killed the momentum of one of its biggest stars. 3 out of 5 matches he has had so far were with the notoriously selfish Triple H, who went out his way to make himself look good, even stealing Brock Lesnar's signature Kimura lock in their WrestleMania match. In storyline, someone had already unlocked how to beat him, and on paper, 3 wins and 2 losses is not the record of a killer. They needed to do something big to rebuild this beast. And did they? Well, it's a big show. Oh. I mean, yeah, sure. It's technically big. As I mentioned, Lesnar had to be rebuilt. He didn't have the most momentum coming into this Royal Rumble match against Big Show. Look, Big Show's not an exciting opponent. They had to spend most of the build just making him look credible, and the way they did that was basically, he big, therefore he a threat. Big guy go burr. And look, that's fine. Lesnar being caught off guard by Big Show's strength on weekly TV doesn't need to matter as long as he looks strong coming out of the pay-per-view. But he didn't. He attacks Big Show with a steel chair before the match even begins. He's a legitimate UFC badass. Why is he descending to cheap heel tactics? It makes Big Show look more credible, but that's not what you're trying to achieve here. The bell rings and Lesnar is immediately hit with a WMD punch, which almost knocks him out, and then he's thrown around for the whole match. Like 90-something% of the offense in this match is Big Show. A surprise F5 is what gets Lesnar the win here. Look, in a bubble, this is a serviceable, if inessential match in Lesnar's catalogue. But in context of this being during the Lesnar rebuilding effort, did he have to look this weak against Big Show? In the fictional world of WWE, Big Show is in theory a threat, but in reality he was a bit of a joke at this point. Crying Big Show memes, ironclad contract memes, New Year baby. Yeah, they made him the New Year baby. Just remembered, that's not in the script, I literally just remembered that happened. This is the man they almost had beat Brock Lesnar, and he was a New Year baby months before this. So yeah, needless to say, Big Show didn't have a lot of credibility with fans at the time, so him almost beating Lesnar is a big blow to Lesnar's already fragile momentum. Honestly, Lesnar beating Big Show here is almost coded as a fluke. This is a sentence I never thought I'd ever say in my life, but God bless JBL because he tried so hard to keep Lesnar's credibility afloat. It was almost knocked out Mago and he could still pick up someone who's like 500 pounds. Excellent piece of commentary there, otherwise Lesnar doesn't come out of this looking good. Look, on paper it's a win, but in reality Lesnar is looking much weaker than he should considering he's meant to be this all-conquering beast. If they don't do something drastic soon, bringing back Lesnar will effectively be a waste of time. Oh yeah, that'll do it. Some of you might be too young to remember this, but there was once a point in time where The Undertaker actually wrestled instead of just ranting about wrestlers not using guns in the locker room anymore and wearing Blue Lives Matter t-shirts. That's grand. That totally didn't wreck my childhood or anything. I'm totally okay with the fact that one of my childhood favourite wrestlers is a fucking nutjob. Anyway, when he did wrestle, for the longest time, he was undefeated at WrestleMania. Look, I'm only kidding, I know you know what the streak is. But with how depressing the last few years of his career was, it's very easy to forget how special the streak felt at the time. Especially for someone my age. I came in at WrestleMania 23, which quite frankly is the perfect jumping on point for the streak. Between WrestleManias 23 and 29, all the matches for the streak turned out to be bangers. The streak match became almost another world title match. It was something to look forward to. It was a yearly tradition. What star is going to step up and try and beat this thing? It was never going to be broken. In everyone's mind, it was going to be this thing that went on forever and ever and ever and ever. No one was ever going to beat the streak. No one. Okay, so Lesnar beat the streak. The match itself is bad. Everyone knows it's bad. It's a bad match. Taker was slow and plodding and woozy because he had a concussion. Lesnar couldn't be as brutal as he'd normally be because Taker had a concussion. What's he going to do? Kill Undertaker. This was reflected in the crowd. They're dead for a good proportion of this. So yeah, in terms of sheer quality, this is bad. Just very bad. Didn't like it. It's kind of sad to watch, to be honest. And almost rightly, that's not what people care about here. What people care about here is the result. Lesnar did what seemed impossible. He beat the streak. 21 matches between 1991 and 2013 saw him defeat people like Randy Orton, Triple H, Kane, Shawn Michaels, CM Punk, and it was over. It was one of those moments where I felt like wrestling had actually changed after it. This unstoppable run that had been around since I was 10 was over. There was a moment in time where people legitimately thought it was a shoot. They just couldn't fathom that the streak was over. It was a weird time to be a fan. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if some people still believe it was a shoot. To this day, the debate goes on whether or not Brock Lesnar should have defeated the streak. But in my opinion, who else would you have done it? For me, Lesnar was the perfect man at the perfect time to beat the streak. From a kayfabe standpoint, he was definitely legit enough to do it. Former champion and UFC badass, he had the credentials, he had the in-storyline credentials. But also, he definitely needed something big like this. As I said at the start of his video, his loss to Cena and his matches with Big Show and Triple H made him look substantially weaker than he had to for what WWE wanted to achieve with him. I can't think of much else that could have corrected the Lesnar course. You can do whatever you want with Lesnar now. He's the man who beat The Undertaker clean at WrestleMania. In one match, they brought back a lot of the aura that he's lost over his first 2 years back in WWE. Someone beating the streak isn't something we ever thought we'd see happen. And one of the biggest questions going forward for any wrestling fan would be, what is the man who defeated the Undertaker streak going to do next? So, when you defeat the undefeatable, where do you go next? Well, the answer is obvious. You kill Superman. Much like the Undertaker match, this is something you didn't ever see. Cena got almost no offense in. He didn't get his big comeback that was customary for Cena matches. I can't stress this enough. If anyone ever tells you that they saw what happened in this match coming, they're fucking liars. Brock Lesnar in this match is playing with his food. Within seconds, hitting an F5. Cena is out of it except for 2 moments. He had a brief 5 moves of doom segment which led to a 2 count, but really that was just luck and perseverance on Cena's part. And then he took advantage of Lesnar arguing with the referee to lock in an SDF, which Lesnar got out of, immediately hitting the F5 for the win. This subversion of the normal Cena match formula, where he is dominated and then gets his comeback, is incredible. It's the formula of nearly every one of WWE's big stars. Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart, The Rock, John Cena, they all had the formula of get beat down for a lot of the match and make their big comeback to win. But Brock Lesnar, the man who beat the Undertaker streak, doesn't give half a fuck about your formulas. Conventional wrestling logic went out the window at WrestleMania, so he's not gonna let Cena get his fucking comeback. Both men played their role perfectly. Brock Lesnar had no doubt in his mind that he was gonna win this match, and he wrestled like it. He looked genuinely surprised every time John Cena threw a punch. This is a man who knows he's now a god of wrestling. And John Cena, no one can sell a beatdown like John Cena. The desperation every time he got the smallest amount of offense in was palpable. Put over the match perfectly. Put over Lesnar amazingly. John Cena didn't expect this to happen, and now he's backed into a corner. It was so weird because the crowd didn't know how to react. At the end, they're all on their feet, but they're not cheering. They're kind of just watching this happen. There are a few marks chanting boring in the corner, but to be honest, that just happens in every fucking Cena match. This main event cemented Brock Lesnar's rebuilding. No matter what happens from here on out, he is the man who beat the Undertaker streak, and he's the man John Cena couldn't put down. There has rarely been such a mythical aura around a wrestler, especially in the WWE. And obviously Cena won't get a rematch for like a year, and we'll let it fester, and it'll be this massive thing when it happens again. Wait, what's that? It happens at the next pay-per-view? They wasted the rematch on Night of Champions? Oh, for fuck's sake! This was a good match. I liked. Video over, folks. Okay, but seriously, this is kind of the natural progression from the SummerSlam match. Cena has Lesnar more scouted, therefore Cena got more in. Lesnar changed tactic, going for the arm, which for the most part was sold well by Cena. Like, for a lot of the match, he wasn't using the left arm after Lesnar targeted it, so that's decent, that's good for Cena. There's not a lot to say here, actually. It's kind of just the SummerSlam match, but Cena gets a bit more in. Finish is definitely something I see being contested, but I don't mind it. So Cena, for the longest time, has Lesnar in the STF, and Lesnar refuses to tap. He kept getting to the ropes, and he just wouldn't tap because he's a beast. So Cena hits an AA, referee starts counting. Before it even gets to a 2 count, Rollins is in there hitting Cena with the Money in the Bank. Now, on paper, is this kind of stupid? Yes. But Lesnar very clearly kicks out before there would have been a 3 count, so it doesn't make Lesnar look weak. I'm not saying it's an ideal finish. If you didn't want Cena to lose, you shouldn't have booked the match. You could have put Lesnar against, I don't know, Jericho, Ziggler, someone. You didn't have to book the Cena match. But if this is the way they had to go for some reason, then fucking sure, why not? Other than a Lesnar victory, this is the best you could have done. It foreshadows Lesnar's immediate future after this quite well, so it's fine, it's fine. As mentioned earlier, considering the previous matches Lesnar had in the year, he was kind of untouchable, so he's not hurt coming out of this. Which is better than I can say for last time I covered Lesnar, so you know what, it's a win. Let's take the win, jumping to the conclusion. This was a good year for Lesnar. One of the takeaways here for me is that match quality doesn't always matter when you're building someone. The Undertaker and Big Show match were just straight up duds. And while I personally rate the Cena matches quite high, I can see why by other people's metrics they wouldn't be quite as high as I rate them. But who cares? Brock Lesnar feels big now. I noted that after the Triple H matches in the last video, Lesnar's aura had almost completely gone. But going into Night of Champions, he felt like the special attraction that WWE wanted him to be. He created this aura where he might not objectively have the best matches, but you care about what he's doing next. In the context of WWE, he's doing things that you never thought possible. He's beating John Cena in such a decisive manner. He's defeating Undertaker for his streak. Now you have the champion who has the reputation to turn up whenever he wants. In a very short amount of time, they rebuilt the beast. Thank you so much if you made it this far into the video. It's been several months since the first video in this series, so I'm really sorry if you just subscribed waiting for that. And I'm also really sorry if I've killed the interest of this series just through neglect. I wouldn't be surprised if I have. Let me know below, what did you think of Lesnar's 2014? Because honestly, I've seen such mixed responses that I just want to know what you think. Otherwise, you can catch me on Twitter at ChrisLovesPuro. You can also catch me on a few podcasts at Podmania, Stardomcast. You can find them in the description. Otherwise, like if you like the video, subscribe if you want to see more of me, and I'll see you next time. See you guys.